What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about Artūras Karnišovas finally opening up about the Chicago Bulls and what he plans to have with this team next season. At the end of the day, I think he's given us some sort of vision in how this team's going to look like next year, and ultimately some people will like it and some people simply won't like it, and I guess it's up to what you think about it, as well as maybe this team could potentially get better over time if they decide to go down the route that AK has been talking about. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below what your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls team next season. Do you think we'll have a relatively similar team? Do you think it will be completely different? At the end of the day, there are no guarantees on either side. If you heard Zach LaVine or what he had to say in terms of his free agency and having an open mind, making a business decision, none of these things give you great positivity towards Zach LaVine re-signing for the Chicago Bulls. Again, it's still very likely, but there's no guarantees either side. Continuity, ladies and gentlemen. That's basically what Artūras has come out and said that he wants from the Chicago Bulls team. He said, in quotes, "This experience from playing together for 7 months for them is going to be a good experience. We'll figure out what additions we need. Is that shooting? Is that defense? Is that size, athleticism? We're going to sit down and figure it out with a group." At the end of the day, that is definitely something that's very interesting. But again, I think many people will have different opinions on how to, I guess, respond to that answer when basically asked about the Chicago Bulls in the offseason, and also just basically what this team can be next season. So if he's looking for this team to be relatively the same, for this core of this team to gel together and ride together into next season, is that something that the Chicago Bulls fans will like to see? Well, I have two different opinions to this situation. One, it's no secret what I've said in the NBA playoffs. I'm not going to backtrack and say that my mind has completely been, I guess, changed by what Artūras has said. I've said for, I guess, since Game 3 or Game 4, actually, it was mainly Game 4, that I believe big changes has to be made just because of the extreme lack of effort this Bulls team showed in Game 4 and Game 3 at home. Our first 2 home games in the NBA playoffs in 5 years, and it was very disappointing from both games. Very, very upsetting. It's one of those situations where maybe emotion got in the way a little bit, but my eyes were crystal clear from that game that this team, with that lack of effort, is not going to go anywhere in terms of the NBA playoffs. So I said that this team needs a new bench, and I also said that this team needs probably one of the big 3 to go. That's what I said in those playoff reactions, if you haven't seen it. And at the end of the day, I think the bench is definitely something that still needs to be changed. At the end of the day, we went way too much with experience, and there's clearly some guys we simply did not trust to be on the floor for the Chicago Bulls. So we do need some more improvements into that bench. Our bench cost us Game 4, in my opinion, as well. So bench, definitely, I agree, we'll probably need a little bit of an overhaul, and that's what he's saying, getting additions into the team to work outside the big 3. So again, size, athleticism, 3-point shooting, whatever it's going to be. If we could get multiple of them at the same time, that'd be very good as well. We're going to have to leave that to Artūras to decide, and I'm definitely okay with that. But the big 3, ladies and gentlemen, the way that I see it, it depends on who comes in for the Chicago Bulls team in order for me to believe, or in order for me to say that this big 3 should stay the same. If we're going to keep the same team next year, almost to the exact, if we're going to keep Vucevic, LaVine, DeRozan, and then we're going to keep Patrick Williams, Caruso, Lonzo, those are the really key guys that we gave a lot of minutes to. But then if you're going to keep Kobe White, you're going to keep Derrick Jones Jr., you're going to keep Io, you're going to keep the whole team the same. We've seen what this team is going to be like, most likely. Again, Lonzo as the exception because he did have a lot of time missed. But for the most part, that team has played together, and it can get better over time, but there's a lack of effort there that I simply can't ignore. So I'd like to see what the Chicago Bulls, I guess, could do in terms of improving on the bench first. Because, for example, if we get, let's say, I've heard a couple of rumors about Mitchell Robertson recently. Let's say we get Mitchell Robertson and he actually comes off of our bench. then I'd like to keep Vucevic on this team, in all honesty, if we're able to get a rim protector like that to come off of our bench. I think that's very easy. You got a guy that can space the floor. You got a guy that can, I guess, go and be that rim protector and score in the paint. Very two different players in many ways, and they both add two different things. And Vucevic is also a very good post player when he actually decides to go into the post. But let's just say this team doesn't get any shooters as well. And Vucevic is going to be the main three-point threat on this team like we saw in the NBA playoffs, then I'd like to see Vucevic go and we can actually get proper shooters out there. But if the Bulls go into free agency and sign some shooters in free agency, maybe trades a Kobe White or trades a Troy Brown or a Derrick Jones Jr., whoever they decide or whoever they have in mind to trade, go and get shooters out there, go and get more athleticism out there, then I think the big three, I'll be okay with them staying here because it wasn't completely their fault. It's not all their fault that we lost in the playoffs, but they do have to play a big part in that because they get the most minutes and they have the most shots. And I think some of the shot selection was very, very poor all the way through from game 1 to game 5. So I'm not going to change my mind. I think the way that this team is built right now, with every single player in this team right now, I'd want one of the big three to leave this team, get traded and get more assets in that we could probably use to make another push. But if they use that on the draft, if they use free agency to sign more players, if they trade some bench players for more bench players, then I'd like to see the big three have another go at it. As he said, he wants to continue. There are many, many teams that have been together for 3, 4, 5 years and they get better every single year because of how much time they play together. Now, there is something I do have to say to that. Demar and Nikola Vucevic are not going to get any younger, ladies and gentlemen. They're both going to take years, I guess, an extra year up in terms of their NBA career. Vucevic is on an expiring deal. DeMar DeRozan, I think he's going to have a fantastic year next year, DeMar DeRozan, in all honesty, just like I thought he had a good year this year. I think it's going to be the same. But will Vucevic be up to that level next year as well? We'll have to wait and see. But I don't know how much we're going to get out of them for multiple years to come. The way that I see it personally, I think this team has next year to develop and grow together. And if they're in the same position next year as we are this year, if they haven't taken leaps forward and they've either taken steps back or they're relatively exactly where they are, I would really consider that this team goes in different directions. Maybe we don't re-sign Nikola Vucevic and we go and get someone else to take his spot. Something like that. Same with DeMar. Anybody really. It doesn't really matter who it is. So I'm intrigued, but also I trust Artūras' decision. I trust what he decides to do. If he wants to keep this team together and that's what he hopes for, then I'm absolutely all for that. And whether I agree with it or not, I will back his decision and I'll support him until he gives me a reason not to. That's what I've been saying all along when it comes to Artūras. But it is open to interpretation. It is open to discussion. Many people will not have those same feelings. But again, that's what he's paid the big bucks to do, to make this team better. And if he thinks that this team staying together will make us better, then that's something we're going to have to live with, ladies and gentlemen. And let's hope it's the right decision for everybody involved. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.